All right, so today we're going to talk about what you guys do in foreign missions, local outreaches, and from the very beginning, Mark, you and I have been very concerned about missions. Amen. It was in our DNA from way back when we were in Dubuque, Iowa, going to school together. I eventually joined the Christian Mission Alliance Church because the number one reason was because of their emphasis on missions. And then we had a mission trip together.
This church was actually birthed, if you will, on a missions trip. We were on a missions trip with Mark DuPont. It was 3 or 4 weeks. We were in Sweden. A lot of people don't think that's a missions trip, but Sweden is a very unchurched country. And so it was on that missions trip that God spoke to us. We each had started an independent church.
And I'm going to say something because we got a little bit more time. It was an incredible trip in that we'd go from town to town, and I don't know how many times. First, Mark DuPont prophesied over Mark and I that we were just started church and it's gonna, so-and-so is going to happen. And then, like 3 times, we'd go to a town and someone would come up, we'd never seen him before, and they would say something along the lines of, you guys are supposed to start a ministry together. It was they didn't know it was unbelievable, right?
Well, God knew I was going to take a lot of convincing.
Okay.
So he did. He spoke,
he
spoke to us powerfully. And anyway, it was on that trip that God spoke to us to come together, and ever since then, we've been involved from the very beginning to...
You know what I was sitting here thinking?
Well...
It's a good thing I have such a good sense of humor, you know that? Go ahead.
And it's a good thing I have a lot of patience.
I know. That's true. That's true.
So we
can keep going here, man.
We were talking just the other day about all the missions, and we figured out that together and individually, we have taken missions trips to 13 different countries, some a number of times. And more importantly, we have either led or sent a lot of mission teams to different places. In fact, I counted it out, over 120 mission teams have gone from this church visiting the mission field, countries all over the world, and done incredible good. And one of the first missions teams that we ever sent out, you led to Russia and Latvia many years ago.
You guys may remember when the Iron Curtain fell, and if you don't know what that is, look it up. But anyway, I don't have time to talk about it. Russia, which had been communistic and not allowing any kind of missionaries or church, they wouldn't even allow their people to go to church or talk about God. So we went in there with Calvary International and to do a crusade, and then out of that crusade, plant some churches, which we eventually did. And I just wanted to mention, it was the most powerful meeting I have ever, up to this point, that I've ever been to. And there are some people here that were with me. We did a crusade, and we had singing, and I preached. I don't think it was that good a message, frankly, but anyway. And then I had the altar call, explained the plan of salvation, and there was thousands of people there. I don't know. It's been so long. But 3/4 of them came down. 3/4! I mean, the place is empty, and I'm thinking, I'm using a translator. They couldn't have possibly heard what I said. They misunderstood. So then I really hit them hard. I mean, I talked about dying to yourself, persecution. I went through the whole thing. You really, no one went back to their seat. Nobody. And as I was doing this, the power of God fell in that place. There was a cloud. A cloud came in the top of this auditorium. And we all started weeping, and there was like glittery things in the cloud. And I know you think, that's weird. But there was about 15 of us, and every single one of us saw it. It was the glory of God came in that place. And it was just God caring so much for those people who were desperate to hear about him. So that was an experience. And then the Lord opened doors in Latvia. We went and did a conference there and trained pastors who were starting churches without a whole lot of training. And we had a medical team that just got back from Guatemala. Give them a hand. They're like 20 or 25.
They got back last night, right?
Dr. Lincas, Dr. Hernandez, Carlos, and a whole team of nurse practitioners, nurses. And if you ever want to go on one of these, we always can use translators. If you're a native speaker, that would be, Spanish. So they just got back last night. So that's in Guatemala. And thank you for Carlos Merlot and his wife Nora, who kind of head that ministry up. It's a fantastic thing. One of the things we do is in Guatemala, we help about 100 severely disabled children. They're crippled, physically disabled. And so we help you guys every single month help with about 100 to 120 of these children, which is cool. So, what we want to do for the rest of the time here is early on, Mark and I, we want to be involved in missions, but we really wanted to make an impact. And we really believe the way you do that is you concentrate on maybe one. You maybe give to several, but you do most of your time, your energy is concentrated on one or several. And we have done that. And we're going to tell you about the 3 that we're concentrating on right now and making an incredible impact on. One is Cuba, that we've been down there for 25 years. But the newest one, very exciting things, Mark, are happening in Kenya. And why don't you tell us about that first one?
Well, a lot of you are familiar with this. I first went down to Kenya probably about 9 years ago. And something erupted out of that, which is Youth Venture, the Youth Venture Bible teaching that goes on in the public schools. They are the English model, so they don't have separation of church and state. So what we talk about when we talk about our Bible Club program is every week going in to 120 schools and growing, where we teach a solid hour. It's like a what's the word? Assembly. The whole school's there. We teach the kids about Jesus. We teach about salvation. We teach them biblical principles out of our Youth Venture program. It's absolutely an incredible thing. We have over 200 trained volunteers in 120 schools. It's hard to get numbers, but I'm going to be very, very conservative. We know that we are ministering every month to 40,000 or upwards students in those schools, leading them to Christ and discipling them. Come on, give Jesus some praise. And it's growing.
Yeah, I just don't want that number. I want that number to just slide past you. You think about that. 40,000. Mark, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It is absolutely mind-boggling.
Now,
and wait, Mark, that's a conservative number, and it could very well be more than that.
Well, and it certainly will be too. Okay, now, not only is every penny that supports that project, there's a lot of cost involved, every penny comes out of this church for that. And we've got a couple from our church that left here to go and oversee that project. They've been down there for 2 years. And Rihanna Chan is with us. She's come back to have a baby. So I want to welcome her up here. And as she's coming up, her husband Jeremy is still taking care of business down there in
Kenya.
Kenya, thank you. But he's got a video greeting. And so while she's coming up, he's going to greet you and thank you. And he's excited. He's going to talk about a house because they were in very cramped corners. But through your generosity, they've moved into a nice house, which really helps because they're working hard down there in Kenya and Uganda. Thank you.
Hello, Foothills. It's been another beautiful day here in Kitale, and if you look behind me, you'll see the lovely house that we've called home since July of last year. I just want to mention how great it's been to be a part of Youth Venture here in East Africa. It's honestly been so remarkable to see God's grace causing the ministry to flourish over here, and everyone involved, from county leaders to volunteers to students and headmasters, They're all super appreciative of the investment you're making into the future of Kenya and Uganda. And we're constantly receiving reports of things like improved student behavior, personal application of youth venture lessons outside of clubs, and growing relationships between adults and youth. So thank you for continuing to invest in the future of the kingdom over here. And lastly, before I leave, I just want to let you know how special it is to live in this particular house, because with all the constant adjustments and differences in culture that we come across, we're able to find refuge and rest in this comfortable and familiar structure. And it wouldn't be possible without your continued support and encouragement. You know, we've had a lot of conversations with other foreign missionaries here, and every time we talk about how connected we are to Foothills and how we've never felt forgotten or abandoned, we're just honestly like overwhelmed with gratitude and honor to be representing you guys on this side of the world. It's truly our privilege to be able to stand here and raise disciples on behalf of Foothills, all in the name of Jesus. So all that to say, we can't thank you enough for coming alongside us in this adventure and for playing a significant role in this part of our story.
Now, I know you miss that guy.
Yes, I do. Very much.
And Shiloh misses her daddy.
Yes.
And Jeremy's going to be there through the end of the school year. And then he's going to rush back because he's got 2 big events he's excited about.
Yes.
What's the first one?
Future Quest.
Yeah, you
We're
guys.
#1 Future Quest fans.
He's the #1 Future Quest fan. In fact, you were one of the leaders. You helped do the office work for Future Quest for years. And then when is the big day?
August 1st.
All righty, so we'll be excited to see Jeremy back. Now, we talked about the fact that we're in over at least 120 and counting. And how big are these schools?
They range from about 200 students to 1,000.
So this is a huge amount of kids. So every year we've been down there, thousands of kids are accepting Christ, and thousands more are being discipled, and they're learning biblical principles, and it's making an incredible difference in the schools, isn't it? What are you hearing from administrators and principals?
A lot of them are just really loving the fact that we come every single week. Same time every week, they can count on the green shirts coming through to their schools, and the kids love it. And they're seeing just a really great response with the students. Their test scores going up, being eligible to take tests, decrease in unplanned pregnancies and dropout rates and
expulsions. In fact, it's not just a mild improvement. It is a incredibly dramatic. They're talking about suspension rates, expulsion rates, all those things dropping down near zero. And like you say, more kids are now able to test because they're doing better in school to go on in education. It's making a profound difference in the life of these kids. And because the principals and administrators are so impressed, word is spreading, doors are opening, so more and more administrators are begging for us to come over and open up. And we just have to train more workers. And because we're allied with a Bible college, we have a continuing supply of new volunteers, don't we?
Yeah, and a lot of our volunteers are really, they love the Joshua Principle book, and they really are catching the vision of investing into the next generation. So,
now, you were telling me that the principals are seeing such an impact in the kids' lives that when they have problems now, they're starting to turn to Youth Venture first and asking the...
Yeah, we've been spending this last year training on how to come alongside kids in crises. And so we've had a lot of headmasters contact our Youth Venture workers whenever there's an incident in school to be the first people that come and help alongside the students. So just a couple weeks ago, there was a student, a girl who was cutting herself in class, and the headmaster called our our youth venture workers in Kibera, and they came right away. They talked to her, and they figured out what was going on with her and her family problems that she was having, and they've been spending the last couple weeks working alongside her in the school. So.
And through this program, youth workers are really being discipled about how to be more effective. And the beautiful thing is, it's starting to move out of the schools now, and more kids are going to church. And we've got a lot of them are starting after school and summertime clubs in their churches.
We've had such a great opportunity in schools, and I think for so many years that's what we've been focusing on. But now a lot of our workers realize that's not enough, and so they want to be opening up during the summertime or during school breaks. They're going into their churches and opening their doors for weekly youth venture clubs in schools.
Increasingly, this is really impacting a generation in Kenya. Now, we just had a couple. We had Jeremy Miller and Dave Matrenga come back. They were just there. They did a training for 150 of your leaders.
Yeah.
Very effective. But now we're getting ready to send another team over, M68. They're leaving. When are they going to be there?
June 6th, I
Okay,
believe.
I think it's about a dozen that are going.
Yeah.
And what are you going to have them doing when they're there?
They're going to conduct a youth conference in Kitale, in the town that we live in. So about 500 students will be in attendance for that. And then they're going to be visiting about 15 to 20 schools while they're there, conducting clubs. And really, it's really just encouraging to our youth workers, our youth venture workers there, to see that they're a part of something bigger than just what's happening in Kenya. They get to see that they're a part of Foothills Church and the teams over here.
I want to just thank you and your husband again for being willing to leave this, go to a third world country, and give your heart to it. And I'll tell you one thing, we don't ever...
Thank you.
I know Dave and I are in agreement with this. We don't ever want to tell an administrator or a principal, I'm sorry, we don't have any money. We can't send somebody to tell your kids about Jesus and teach them the principles of life that are in the Bible. So thank you guys for being so faithful to doing that.
Thank you.
All right, give you a hand. We want to talk about the last one, and of course, God calls us to minister not only to the nations, hurting people in nations, but of course the people right in our own backyard, right under our nose. And so we want to talk about a ministry that's very close to all of our hearts. We've been doing this for 25 years, and of course I'm talking about our youth venture. And what that is that's 5 centers that are open 7 days a week. Along with that is a large mentoring program. We have leadership development. We have camps. We work closely with our higher ground Bible clubs, which is in almost every middle school here in the East County. And through it, of course, over the 25 years, we've just ministered to tens of thousands of young people. So I would like to invite, and by the way, a new thing we started this year is a special ministry to kids that are really in need, kids that are maybe in the system or in particular crisis situations, and that's under the leadership of Jordan and Courtney Lancaster. They'll be out at the table. Yeah, they'll be out at the table, kids like us. So go see them afterwards. But I would like to invite, if I could, our Director of Youth Venture, Jeremy Miller, and Josh Simmons, who directs one of our teen centers right up here. They come up. And meanwhile, while we're doing that, I want to introduce you to one of our young people that's come through the center and just hear their testimony. Braden, he's right there.
That's where I grew up. That's where it all started. I started hanging out with some bad kids and got in a lot of trouble and wasn't really pursuing the Lord. And then eventually they invited me to Youth Venture, and then I started getting really connected, and they stopped going, but I just stuck around. Between Youth Venture and home, Youth Venture I really felt wanted, and I actually wanted to be here. And just being at home was hard because I just only had my dad, and I didn't really have a family to go to. But being at Youth Venture, I just felt like I really had a place to go to and to feel loved and taken care of. I got invited to go to a summer camp, and I was getting prayed for by my leader, David Matringa, and I just couldn't stop crying, and I kept thinking about like how God could love me so much, and I just could not stop crying, and I just felt so overwhelmed, and I felt so much love and so much peace in my heart. If I didn't have Youth Venture, I probably would be like doing drugs right now, and I would be just like a really bad kid, and I'd be hanging out with the wrong people. But because of Youth Venture, I met the Lord, and I met really good people, and I got really good friends, and that changed my life. Looking ahead, the main thing that gives me hope is just honestly just having Youth Venture and having all these leaders to help me and to pray for me and just always be there for me, and just being able to trust the Lord and knowing that like His plans are going to be good and He's always going to take care of me, it really gives me hope and helps me trust Him. So thank you for the support of Youth Venture, and without this place I wouldn't be where I am today.
I tell you, Youth Venture is effective at helping kids. And if you've never seen this book, Kids Like Us, it's a book we put together a few years ago. It's 23 thrilling testimonies, or short. And you'll be able to pick them up. There's a Youth Venture table at the back. Jeremy will be there. You'll probably be there, I imagine. I know Jordan Lancaster will be there to talk about what he's doing. So we'd love to have you go there.
They're free, Mark. Let me make
yeah,
sure.
these are free.
You don't have to pay
We'd love to
anything.
have you go back there. You can look at the mentoring materials that we use, everything. Stop by, ask questions. But here's our director, Jeremy Miller. And Jeremy, we've had a great year, one of our best years ever. Give us some of the highlights, some of the things that you're really excited about where you're seeing expansion.
Yeah, over the last year, we've seen the Ministry of Youth Venture grow and expand in some really exciting ways. We're just about to finish an expansion project at our Lakeside Center, adding on 1,000 square feet. So many days a week, that center is just packed full of kids. And so this is going to give us more space to put in a homework room, a music area. At our old center, we had a piano and some guitars where a lot of different kids learned how to play musical instruments, including Shane Blayfield, now our worship leader. So that's going to be really great and help that center be more effective. Also, this year, we hired our first ever girls ministry director at Youth Venture. That's Stephanie Bird. Right. And we've seen our ministry to girls at Youth Venture just explode this year. Stephanie, along with Katie Leroy and a bunch of other great ladies at our centers, have just done an incredible job at ministering to these girls. We're seeing more girls involved in the program than ever before, more girls showing up to events, and just an overall enthusiasm and passion for ministering to these girls, even among the leaders than we've ever had. They just had their annual Youth Venture Girls Beauty Day, where they have a salon, a beauty salon for the day. They do makeup, what's it called, makeovers? And
I'm glad you don't know what it is, bro.
I was going to say makeouts or makeups or something. And they do a clothing exchange. And at that event, 3 girls gave their life to the Lord just at that Beauty Day event. Yeah. We also are starting a new life skills class for the girls. So they're going to be 6-month rotations of groups of girls from the center that are learning basic life skills that they're not learning at home. So this ministry to girls is just really expanded and it's exciting. We've also had a unique thing happen this year where we've always had people who've come to us asking about what we do at Youth Venture. They hear about us through Mark DuPont or through the internet, and we've been able to tell them. This year we've helped to open 2 brand new centers in the country. One in Washington that opened this year. They have 50 plus kids a day coming through the doors. Another one in Utah. We had a center years ago that opened in Florida, and we're expecting this year to open a brand new center in Florida.
Well, up 2 there, that's wonderful.
So, you know, I all the time regularly have people that contact me say, I've heard about what you do and I want to know how to do what you do. And it's like they just light up when they hear about how this kind of ministry could affect their city, and even people have started new centers.
Yeah, so we've had people come here to get trained. You've gone there to get trained. Now, these aren't Youth Ventures. We're not trying to run, but they're inspired by Youth Venture, and we train them. It's very exciting. Yeah. Now, to my left is Josh Simmons, and He's been directing our center in South El Cajon off Estes, right off there off Chase. And thank you for just your faithfulness, almost 6 years. Just tell us a little bit about what you're excited about at the center, what's new.
Yeah, about a year ago it's almost summer camp. We have this yearly summer camp. It was just incredible. We had a lot of the kids at the center meet the Lord in a way that they really never have before. They've done the youth venture lessons, they've gone to the retreats, but they haven't met the Lord to this extent. And usually kids go up to camp and they come back down the hill, especially kids that are youth venture kids, and they go back home and they kind of fades away, but they met with the Lord in such a way that it's lasted. You know, it's been almost a year later, and we have kids that are just on fire for the Lord.
And 14 of them got baptized.
14 of them this last year got baptized, which is really cool. It's really awesome. Like Jeremy said, our
spiritual hunger.
The whole atmosphere of our center has been just completely different. I was talking to someone the other day, and I don't remember the last time I had to kick somebody out.
That's amazing.
And which is, if you do a shift, sometimes you have to. There's some knuckleheads, but our girls ministry has just exploded. That's something that we've really struggled with in the past, is reaching the girls and bringing them in, getting them to stay, other than they're just cute guys there. But sometimes the girls are outnumbering the guys now. We have between 12 and 15 girls that are at my center every single day now, just hanging out because they want to be there. It's just been incredible to watch. I have a couple kids that are helping out with kids' church right now. Got a couple kids that are here in the church service. They're hungry for the Lord and they want more.
You know, yeah, give them a hand. And I want to just say that this ministry, more than any other ministry, more than any other program, outreach, service, anything, is reaching the kids where they are. We find them in their schools. We find them in the neighborhood. We're there 7 days a week. We're always there. You have people at your center that have been there for years. You have people at your center that have been with you for 10, 15 years. They become the family. They become the only stability a lot of these kids know. Youth Venture is a lifeline that is thrown out to a lot of kids that are really struggling in broken situations. Becomes the stability. We tell them about Christ. We teach them life principles. We've had a lot of these kids live at time in homes with other people. A number of them are right now. I want to just say we can always use more volunteers. And these kids, they need big brothers to come and volunteer. They need people that are the age of their parents to come and volunteer. They need grandmas and grandpas. Doesn't matter what your age is, if you're willing to love these kids, and you know, you got to have some patience. It can be challenging. But it'll change your life as much as it changes theirs. You'll make lifetime friends, you know, and you'll expand your family. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Dave, for instance.
I was just wondering, waiting for this. What are you going to say?
Dave has been volunteering for over 2 years, I believe.
Yeah. So it was one Sunday morning, I think it was Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, it doesn't matter. And I was encouraging people to because we needed volunteers for Youth Venture, and it hit me, how can I expect people to volunteer if I'm not willing to do it myself? Don't you hate those moments? Anyway, so I volunteered, and another thought came to me. No one could ever tell me, oh, I can't do it because I'm too busy. I just look at them going, oh, really? So, because you can't, don't try to tell me too busy. I'll just show you my schedule. But it's been an incredible 2 years for me. I went in first, the one thing that I noticed is that this is a really safe place for some kids who are in some real difficult family situations. And they'll stay there. Like if the shift is over and the center closes down at 8, they're there till 7:59, 59. You know what I'm saying? And they're walking with us, you know, out the door, because they want to be there and they really don't want to go home just because of the mess that's at home. And when you're around there enough, they start to learn who you are, and then they'll start talking to you. You know, at first, especially when you're older like me, but they'll talk to me now. It's fun, Mark. You can bring food. These kids love when you bring food. You can order pizza. I want to publicly thank Don Kuhn every Thursday when I'm at Santa Youth Venture. He plugs in with anywhere from 4 to 6 pizzas. God bless you, Don. It's fun.
And that's a really good point, because a lot of these kids, they don't have regular meal times. And we do have a lot of people that come in and just bring food. They don't do a
You
shift,
can use a crock pot and make something and bring it there, because at least Santee has, I guess all the centers have an oven and a stove and everything, and a refrigerator, right?
Yeah, they all have a stove and a kitchen now. And so it started really at Lakeside. We moved into a place that had a full kitchen, and we started feeding our volunteers. Just noticed the need. We started making hot dogs and spaghetti, and the kids were so grateful and responded so well that every day of the week we have meals at Lakeside, and it's expanded to other centers.
Wait a minute. Okay. I'm even starting to play video games, which is pretty hard. Now, see, I know what Fortnite is. Now, most of you older folks like me, Fortnite, it's the craziest game. It is. These kids are absolutely addicted to this thing. And at first I thought, this thing is stupid. But then I got on, oh my gosh. Anyway, Fortnite.
Well, listen, I want to just say, because we're going to go ahead and start bringing this home now, but right after service, first of all, you got all the home groups out there, the tables, so go out and visit them. But we have a table set up for Youth Venture, and Jeremy will be there. Jordan will be there talking about what he's doing. You may be there. We've got these 4. If you don't have one, get one of these. They're thrilling. Look at the literature. Ask questions about maybe volunteering. We always need volunteers. Just ask questions, ways you might help. Maybe you want to cook or something. But at least go back there and just talk to them.
Yeah.
So let's give them a good hand and let them go.
Yeah. Mark, since we're bragging on our
let me
church,
say Rihanna will be back there too. Rihanna Chan, so she wants.
Since we're bragging about you and what we're doing as a church, we're in 38 public schools. We have after-school Bible clubs in 38 public schools. And I want you to give yourself a hand. Think about that. Every week, 38. I'm really proud of that. So here's the crunch time, I guess you would say. If you would take out there's a flyer in each one of your bulletins. What Mark and I are asking you to do is prayerfully consider right now giving a $25 donation to at least once a month for 12 months, $25 a month to at least one of the 3 the mission opportunities that Mark and I have presented to you. Some of you can do more, some of you can do all 3, some of you can give more than $25 a month, whatever. Some of you maybe, especially some of you younger folks, just don't have a lot of cash. $10 a month, anything. One of the things that Mark and I learned a long time ago, we've done a number of campaigns. If right now, if you just pray and ask God, what do you want me to give? And you give what God is telling you to give, we will have enough money for expansion in Kenya, Cuba, everything, Youth Venture. So prayerfully consider this. Please print your name. Oh, I need to mention, just because you signed up a year ago, you're not automatic. You have to re-sign up. There's a lot of reasons for that, which we don't want to go into. Make sure you fill this out. Please print it. And on the bottom, we need to know how you're going to fulfill that commitment, right? So if you could fill that out right now, we'd appreciate it. Mary is filling out ours. And this is what we're going to do. The worship team is going to come back out here.
Then I'd like to lead us in prayer.
Yeah, okay. Just let me say what we're going to do, okay? So, why are they laughing? Because I'm telling you what to do?
Because your lips are moving.
Okay. my gosh. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to stand in front of you. Okay, so we're going to sing a song, and what we'd like you to do, it'll take a few minutes. Fill this out, and come up here. Come up from where you are. Come up and you put it up here on the stage, because you're making, not just making a commitment to Mark and I, you're making a commitment to the Lord to help out in one of these three things. And your $25 can make a difference. Can make a difference in a young boy, young girl's life in Kenya, make a big difference in a pastor's life in Cuba, or a young person's life in Youth Venture. Something you wanted to say? You're standing there.
I was going to pray. I would just say this, though. Our church is as fully committed from our church budget as we are in all these projects. It's just too big. Our church can't take it out of the budget, so it gives you an opportunity to really give in a way that is high impact. It's an offering unto the Lord because you love Him. Heavenly Father, we want to just thank you for it. It humbles us when we think of the doors that you've opened. It's incredible, Lord, the way you've multiplied our feeble efforts to do good. And so, Lord, I pray you raise every dollar that we need, not only for today, but for expansion in the future. And I pray you bless every person that gives. In Jesus' name. This is an offering unto you, Lord.
Let's stand up.
In Jesus' name, amen.